So the other day I was doing some research on draft prospects, free agents the Cowboys can go after this offseason, stuff like that. And I stumbled upon a thread online talking about how the Cowboys should take Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida, with the 10th overall pick. I'm going to explain why I feel this would be a poor decision by the Cowboys, as well as some things that have been said about why the Cowboys should take a tight end and why I think that just it doesn't make sense with the current situation the team is in. So before we get started, if you guys could please make sure to leave a like as well as subscribe if you're new to the channel. By all means, hit that notification bell, the most important thing of all, because by hitting that notification bell, you'll be notified when I post new content or I go live. So with that out of the way, got to talk about this Kyle Pitts to the Dallas Cowboys at pick 10 stuff. Now, the biggest thing that I've seen people try to use as an argument for this maneuver by the Cowboys is, well, we live in a league in which defense doesn't win championships anymore. And that is more or less true. These Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl on the backbone of their very elite offense. We just had this year where the Green Bay Packers defeated the LA Rams in the divisional round. The Rams had the #1 best defense, and by far they had a very good defense this year. And obviously it's not because their defense didn't do a good job. It's because their offense didn't score enough points. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand what people were trying to say. You need to have a good defense and a complete team so that you can win championships. However, I do not believe that you need a top 5 defense to win a Super Bowl. I think that at minimum, if you can get a team defense that can get you some turnovers and make key stops, that's all that matters. There have been teams, for example, the Atlanta Falcons in 2016, they got to the Super Bowl with a pretty bad statistical defense. However, stats don't tell the whole story. If you go back and watch that run, you look at how the Falcons played, they had a very high-powered offense that basically carried the load. And because they were putting up so many points, the defense also did their part by making key turnovers to ensure the offense continued to put points on the board. The Cowboys don't have that. So the biggest thing is while adding Kyle Pitts to this offense, you can argue, would make it more or less unstoppable with the weapons and with the quarterback, that being Dak Prescott. As long as your offensive line can hold up and let Dak Prescott get time to throw, you would definitely have the best offense in the league, probably, if all things work out. However, my problem is this. The fact is that with that 10th overall pick, it is very, very important because you have so much leverage there. There could be a situation where a prospect's sliding. You could trade that prospect, well, more so the pick, so that you can let a team come up and you can get some additional draft capital so that you can get some more players on your team. So, for example, like if you have a team that needs a quarterback and there's like a Trey Lance or a Mac Jones there that someone wants, and you want to trade down and get an extra 3rd-round pick, that'd be perfect, especially if you have a prospect that you can trade down and get. There are other prospects at 10 that you should prioritize over a tight end, such as a cornerback, possibly an interior defensive lineman, but I don't think there's an interior defensive lineman that's worthy of that 10th pick, given the other players on the board at the time. But then again, who knows how this draft board is going to fall? So once we get closer to the draft day, we'll see, who is improving their stock and who isn't. But otherwise, the Dallas Cowboys have a ton of options at 10. And I think that using that pick on a tight end, especially a top 10 pick, would be completely useless. And the second part to this whole talking point is that I get it that you want to always upgrade. I completely understand that. The problem is you just dedicated resources to re-signing Blake Jarwin. You now have an emerging tight end in Dalton Schultz. So now that they've gotten the adequate time to really, shine now with Witten gone, not to try and slander him, but it's true. You have 2 quality tight ends that can get the job done. And I know people will say, well, Kyle Pitts is better than both of them. And I would agree. I think he will be better than both of them. My thing is that if you're taking a tight end top 10 overall, you better hope that he's the next Travis Kelce. Or at minimum, Darren Waller. which I've seen some people compare him to, and I could see it. But I just don't see that pick until, you know, you can really address this defense, especially in the free agency period, and I'll get to that as well. Because, so you gave all that, not a lot of money, but you gave money to Blake Jarwin, so he's here for 2 more seasons. You gave Dalton Schultz a chance because of the unfortunate situation with Blake Jarwin tearing his ACL. And he really emerged as a very damn good tight end for you. So now you have 2 tight ends you can really work with in the vertical pass game. Like, you have 2 legitimate threats alongside your stud wide receivers. As long as your offensive line can hold up and you give your quarterback time, I think that this offense can definitely be top 5 next year. But that being said, you know, the biggest thing for me is we got to be aware of how the Cowboys are this offseason. Because they aren't the biggest spenders. We know that. You know, they typically go after guys that, you know, are veterans or very lame-ass players, just to put it bluntly. Bargain basement shopping. And the Cowboys got to do better than that. Plain and simple. So I think that if the Cowboys were to address all the positions, like if they were able to get, you know, the safety position and the defensive tackle position, you know, fixed adequately, you know, if you want to spend that money and you want to restructure cut players, get all those guys in here, and then you want to go spend that top 10 pick on a Kyle Pitts, I still wouldn't like that maneuver, but I would understand that. But that's more of a luxury pick. I think that the only offensive player that you should be looking at or thinking about is an offensive lineman, and that's going to be, you know, Rashawn Slater. Plain and simple. I don't see a way that you can spend a top 10 pick on a tight end that, sure, you'll have here for 5 years, but you already gave money to, you know, your tight end. And to be honest with you, having an elite tight end, in my opinion, is a luxury unless he's a massive part of your offense. And considering the fact you now have drafted last year, and this is an argument that I've been hearing, you know, last year you spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver who was going to be a fantastic wide receiver, a future All-Pro, in my opinion, in CeeDee Lamb. And people were saying, well, why is it that taking CeeDee Lamb wasn't a problem with you, but now it's all a problem because you're taking Kyle Pitts? A couple things. First off, the value. If the Dallas Cowboys were at pick, like, 20 and Kyle Pitts was there, cool. Like, that's best player available at that point because he is, in my opinion, he's definitely worth a first-round pick, but it depends on the need of your team. Cowboys don't need a tight end. So my thing is that I get what people are trying to say, like, oh, well, we didn't need a receiver, but actually we did because we didn't address the wide receiver 3 position for the Cowboys. I mean, we knew who wide receiver 1 and 2 were at that time, but the Cowboys didn't get a wide receiver in free agency, so it's like, okay, they had to go draft a receiver so that they can make sure, you know, they address that receiver position. Because, again, when Randall Cobb left, they didn't talk or do anything regarding that position until they took CeeDee Lamb. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that they would have taken a receiver if CeeDee Lamb wasn't there. But who knows? Like, I don't know. You know, and I know people be like, well, you know, they're starting to criticize the CeeDee Lamb pick as well, but that's, I've already talked about that. So again, I think that this is different because last year we felt that we just needed to make a couple of tweaks and just tighten a few bolts before we can go and contend, but clearly this team is in a lot more of a dire situation than we thought. So we definitely need to go draft some players that can help this defense out. We have not fully addressed this defense. We have not put elite blue chip prospects on this defense, and I want to see that. As long as the Cowboys they typically draft well with their first round picks. Well, you know, defensively speaking, they haven't really done well in the first round, you know, other than Byron Jones. But again, I do believe that if you think the Cowboys should take Kyle Pitts with the 10th pick, I'm sorry. I think that it's a dumb idea. Until the Cowboys can seriously address this defense, unless they address every single freaking position and I don't have to worry about like missing out on like a, even though still I think you still go get a defensive player. Just the way the teams, the contract, you know, situations with some of these guys that we have, you're gonna need to have as many picks as possible to you know, reload that defense. We're gonna need it. You know, I understand that, you know, and I've heard, I think, one argument where it was like, well, if you're going to give your quarterback that much money, give him as many weapons to work with, and like, oh, well, Gallup's going to leave, so you might as well go get this. No. If you want, if Gallup leaves, you know what you do? You go draft another receiver. You know, he's going to give you a third-round compensation pick. He's going to get a lot of money. So there's that. And I don't want to go on forever regarding this because I think that this is a silly conversation, but I wanted to seriously address this because there is a situation where people are literally thinking that we should take Kyle Pitts with the 10th overall pick. And so I don't want to, you know, question the intelligence of people. If you hold this opinion, I want to hear the rationale for why you should take Kyle Pitts at 10. But for me, I think that would be a very, very boneheaded move, especially if the draft board... The only way I can think about it is if all the players that I would want are off the board, or like there's just, it's just, you know, that bad of a situation. Because at this point, I think you need to seriously reload this defense. I do not care how it looks, unless he's the next coming of Tony Gonzalez, you know, or he's going to be like the best, you know, like a Travis Kelce type situation. Which, don't get me wrong, I think Kyle Pitts will be that good of a tight end eventually, but not right now. So I think that you need to just build up this defense and, you know, you got to really address that. Or you got to address the offensive line. So I think I've said my piece long enough. I want to hear what you guys got to say in the comment section below. By all means, you know, leave how you feel about people, you know, not people, but like, you know, the whole thought process of taking a tight end, specifically Kyle Pitts with the 10th overall pick. So leave that down below. I'll try to take a look at that if I get the time. By all means, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. I'll check you guys out in the next one. Alright guys, have a good one. Bye-bye.